Initiative. Jim Grant, a longtime friend of Sticks, coached baseball with him for many years, has served on our financial committee, and has been involved with all the initiatives. Larry Hurd, on the camera here, was an LHS student and a neighbor of Sticks. Larry did the website that you've seen and the video, and has served on our communications committee. Nick Mitchell, the initiator of the Remembering David Stickney Committee, has worked on the Communications Committee and the Memorial Bench Initiative, and it's due to him that this whole thing got moving. Nick's over here. David Skelly, a Leaside High School student and a neighbor of Sticks, has been our treasurer and led the Memorial Bench Initiative and the application process through the city. Jim Wilson is a lifelong friend of Sticks from when they were boys. Jim has supported, and also was a neighbor of Sticks recently. Jim has supported all of the initiatives and given his guidance to the committee. We'll be hearing from Jim shortly. And finally, Ann Brown, a Leaside High School student of Sticks and a neighbor of Sticks, and has led the street naming initiative, going around to gather all the signatures for the petition that was required, shepherding it through city council approval process, and organizing today's ceremony. These are the committee members who have worked on your behalf to remember David Stickney. I'd also like to acknowledge Councillor John Burnside and his assistant Angela Glore. There's Angela. There's Angela, who have supported the committee all along and have assisted with today's ceremony. And I also want to thank Gyro Motors for allowing us to hold the ceremony here. And the reason that we're doing it is because the process for obtaining a street permit was too involved, and we didn't want to have Councillor Burnside to be embarrassed if the police showed up and we didn't have a permit. Before turning to the rest of the proceedings, over to Kevin, our MC for today, Kevin Marks, I'd like to leave you with this remembrance that I have of Stickney that I think is fitting for today. In December of 2014, I was driving back with Dave from the funeral of my classmate, his student Brenda Plunkett. Brenda was a very accomplished academic in her life, and we were talking about Brenda. And Stick turned, I was driving, and Stick turned to me and said, you know, thinking about Brenda, I really haven't accomplished very much in my life. I turned to him and blurted out, are you kidding me? With all the people you've touched and all the students you have influenced? And I can remember the look in his face. He just looked at me, turned passively and looked at me, and then turned away, and we got talking about other things. But the initiative, the outpouring of caring and support, and having everybody here today is just the testament of what an impact that he did have and what he accomplished in his life in touching so many people. Kevin Marks is our MC. Kevin was a member of the LHS class of 1976. Kevin grew up on 70. Oh, sorry, Kevin says 77 and 78 and. Kevin grew up on Cameron Crescent down the street from Sticks, and was a neighbor of Dave's while he was growing up. Kevin?
Very well, but he was very pleasant. He also taught me home maintenance, which was an interesting subject. We didn't exactly have a bunch of future electricians in the class, and he was very kind again. He would come and inspect our work. I remember we were doing electrical work one day, and he would look at it, and he would just kind of smile and go, oh, that's not bad. You know, you might lose maybe a part of the house. You know, but that's not bad. You could work on that one. That one over there, that would take out 3 houses down the street. So completely redo that. Anyway, he's very missed. I miss him personally. The last time I saw him, I think, was at the tribute for Howie Burney a couple years ago. And bumping into him at the time was just like I hadn't seen him in about 15 years, and it was just like, you know, 2 days had gone by. At this point in time, it is my pleasure to introduce someone who's obviously very familiar to all of you, his son, Eric.
Okay, as you guys know, I'm Eric Stickney. I'm here representing the family today, and I think first and foremost, the family, the most important thing we want to get across is really our gratitude for the committee. My sister, who's on a bus on the way here, she might be showing up right behind me. And my mom and I and our cousins and his sister, Caroline. We're in a pretty difficult situation to try and put something like this together. So to have the community really rally and do this means a whole lot to us. So we were pretty hands-off on this whole project. There wasn't too much involvement at all, just a little bit of consulting here and there. But every time they came to us with something, it was nothing but gratitude and appreciation the whole way through. There's not much else I really want to get across today in our message, except that we're really taken back by everything you guys have done, and nothing that you guys have done has gone unnoticed, and that's really all we would like to say is it means a great deal to us to honor him the way that you have. I think you guys have done an amazing job. Our whole family thinks you guys have done an amazing job, and I think my dad would have really appreciated it. And James, I like what you said there when you were talking in the car, and he said, "Oh, I don't think I've left much of a mark." And I think you're right. He just did. He did one thing really, really well for a very, very long time. And that was give back as much as he could, gave as much of his time as much as he could, and helped as many people whenever he could. And I think it's rubbed off on all of us. I think we're all better for it. So again, thank you guys for tributing him, and I'm going to enjoy that bench at the top of the stairs. We'll be watching some Leaside rugby and some Leaside football on that bench. It'll feel good. I'm going to outsource that job. I'm going to outsource the shoveling of the stairs. I'm a good delegator now. I'm getting better at it. And my friend Andrew on the way here, he specifically took a less efficient route to get here just so he could tell the driver, I'd like you to take a right on Stickney Avenue, which was nice. And I guess the one last thing my dad would have wanted to know is he put a lot of time and effort, and he had a lot of pride in the scholarship fund at Leaside. And as you guys know, the interest rates in the 80s were pretty good, so that scholarship fund used to do quite well. And it had been sort of dwindling in the past, few years or generations. And the fundraiser you guys ran just brought it back to life. There's going to be a lot of great Leaside students that benefit from that fundraiser. And my dad was, he was a huge advocate of that fundraiser, and he would have just loved, he would have been ecstatic to see that fundraiser back up and running. So that's really all we wanted to say today. So thank you guys so much for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Welcome to the mic. Dave's longtime friend, Jim Wilson.
Thank you, Kevin. We were talking before about some difficulties as you age and getting shorter, and I think this is the reason they offered me two choices in terms of steps. Our councillor would recognize the tree stump. The other plastic step here, I think, is probably something that'll at least get me up to about 5'8". So thank you again for being here. Thank you, Kevin. When asked to speak today, I thought that it would be appropriate to give an historical perspective on how one David Stickney evolved into Mr. Leaside. In retrospect, the process had three prime requisites: a setting or scene, a group of directors, and a willing, malleable participant. First, the setting or scene. Leaside from the beginning was unique. We had our own town architect and unique housing design and our own parks named after early residents. We utilized funds from our own tax base to build our own arena, library, baseball diamonds, tennis courts, swimming pool, and curling rink. We had our own high school, our own elementary schools, and our own churches. Our Leaside had all the amenities required to support young active families, but it was the incredible interaction of its citizens that drove the hook in us all. David, I, and dozens of our friends were instantly transfixed on the Leaside Hockey and Baseball Associations and the Atom Baseball League, and spent countless hours practicing our skills and playing games in our parks, schoolyards, and arena. As wonderful as the opportunities were for involvement, the direction provided by our community leaders and coaches provided the positive atmosphere that led to a lifetime appreciation of Leaside special offerings. Next, the directors in this environment. Of all the outstanding community volunteers that passed through our youth, two were of particular importance to Dave. Lefty Bagg, David's Besborough School phys ed teacher and Leaside Kiwanis Pee Wee baseball coach, and Mr. Norm McClelland, a Leaside father and coach. Both had a lasting impact on David's approach to group activities. 50 years later, Tank could vividly describe both coaches' planning skills, their ability to simplify, skill teaching and strategy, and direct young people in the most positive way. And in so doing,
Dave passed, and I mean very shortly. Within 12 hours, I started getting emails and calls. What can we do for Sticks? And all these ideas came flowing in, and of course one was the bench, and then I heard about the scholarship, and a committee was formed. And I know we're here for the street renaming, and that is really testimonial to Anne Brown. Somehow she figured out no one lived on the street, and it didn't really have any significance, like historical Leaside significance. So thank you, Anne, for all your diligence. And so the committee was formed, and my experience is a lot of committees get formed, people go for a couple meetings, and then nothing really happens, it kind of peters off. And here we are today, basically a year later, and there's a bench, there's a scholarship, and now there's a street renaming. And that's really a testimonial not only to the committee, but to the community who loved Dave Stickney. You know, Sticks was one of those guys that it was really hard to say no to him. He would, for me, he was my grade 9 math teacher, and he found this need in the community, or saw this need to help seniors out. So he started this program, Lancers, Leaside's aging neighbors who can employ reliable students. And so that was the first thing, and then he got me involved coaching teenage boys, like 16-year-old boys, on a Saturday night when I was like 24 years old. The last thing I wanted to do on a Saturday night. And periodically, Sticks would call, it would be the same thing, and I think this is before call display, but neither here nor there. It'd be, Johnny, it sticks. And those three words, I don't know how to describe my emotion. There are actually two emotions. One was this kind of inner laughter. It's like, of course it sticks. He had the most distinctive and unforgettable voice that I know. And then there was this trepidation, because it's like, okay, what are you going to get me to do now? And my experience, and I think pretty much everyone else's here, is that you could never say no to Sticks. Because Sticks was never calling about Dave Stickney. He was calling about everybody else. And, you know, he was just such a special guy. But this street renaming, it actually had a few emotions, or some questions came up. I know Anne Brown, when she was going through this whole process, called me and said, you know, I'm a little bit concerned. I think it's a great idea, but you know, Dave was a bit of a lower profile guy, and this is a really high profile event or initiative. But here's the thing: the street renaming isn't so much about who Dave Stickney was. It's about the impact he had on the community, and that was huge. And so whether it was helping students with math, helping seniors with chores, shoveling snow for unknown people, Dave Stickney was almost this invisible force, not quite, but almost, who made everyone's life a little bit better and made Leaside a whole lot stronger. So, you know, unfortunately Dave's not here with us today, but every time we drive by Stickney Avenue, we'll be reminded of what Leaside is about and what we want it to continue to be. Dave, we'll miss you.
Here's